Hi, Kashish.
Hey Kashish.
All right. So in the previous session, we discussed about user-defined functions, and today also we will continue our discussion on the same topic. So as of now, we know what is positional argument, what is a keyword argument, what are the default arguments, and also we learned how we can do modular programming in Python. Like we created another Python script in which we had around 3 to 4 functions, and then we loaded in the main script so that we can invoke those functions from some other script. So that was like basic flavor of modular programming, but later on we will be building various classes, objects, and then we will make different Python scripts, and then we will try to invoke functions, classes in the main script from various different scripts. Now we will continue our discussion on user defined functions because there are some other arguments as well that you have to learn. So we will see what all arguments that are there, and today we will try to end our discussion on user defined functions so that we can proceed towards advanced topics. So there is another thing that is there for user defined functions, which are lambda functions. So lambda functions are important because once we proceed towards advanced functions such as map reduce, on which whole Hadoop programming or Hadoop technology is based on, which is map reduce. So Python also have map reduce functions, and they quite do similar functionality that is there in Hadoop as well. So to use map and reduce, lambda functions comes handy. So let's try to finish this user defined functions today, and tomorrow we can touch base on lambda functions. Okay, so let's get started. And first of all, let's take an example that we discussed in the previous session. So we created this bigger function, and we took 2 arguments for this bigger function, and then we have applied a condition. If number one is greater than number two, then return number one, otherwise number two. So basically this program will help us to find out the biggest number out of 2 numbers, and it will return the highest number, I mean the biggest number out of 2. And then we wrote one more uh, function in which we were taking 3 arguments, and we used our own function, bigger function, as nested functions to create biggest efficient function, which will also return me the biggest value out of these 3 numbers. And finally, you can see we are printing this statement: the biggest number is biggest efficient. So we are calling this function, and then we are passing on 3 arguments, which is the values for these 3 numbers. And if you remember the concept, so these are the positional arguments, since we are not giving it as num1 equals to something. So we are simply calling the values. So all of these values will be assigned to respective positions. And now we are printing this, so it will be printing like the biggest number is. So it will call biggest efficient function, which will take on the values for these arguments, and then it will come to the function definition, which says we have to call bigger function and to check the biggest out of these 2 numbers, and the result will be compared with the number 3 by calling this bigger function again. So finally we will get the biggest number out of these 3 numbers. So this is the basic idea that we discussed in the previous 2 sessions. So let me run this, and we can see that the biggest number is 15 out of these 3 numbers. We can also try something else. So now we are getting triple one. So this means that our functions are working fine. And I wrote this example to, like, first of all revisit the concept. And now the question comes in mind. Here we have defined 2 numbers. Here we have defined 3 numbers. Maybe in some cases, not not in this scenario. Maybe in some cases we have to take arguments from the user, like suppose one user is passing 4 arguments and another user can is passing 7 arguments. So how do we tackle such scenarios? Because it totally depends on user how much arguments that they are providing as the input to us. And and suppose the condition is whatever arguments that user 1 is providing, like 4 arguments, and user 2 is providing 7 arguments, we don't have to throw any error. We have to process all those arguments, all those values that users are passing. So to achieve that functionality, so right now we know that if we pass on, if we take or define three arguments, we have to pass on three values as well. If we pass four values, it will give me an error. If we pass two values, it will also give me an error. So the value should be equal to the number of arguments. But as the scenario, as I explained, so now we want that we will not define how many arguments you can provide. So we will just provide one argument, and user can pass on multiple values for it. Let's learn how. So before that, let's read about the theory that I've written here. So now, what if we want to pass on multiple arguments in one go without defining them in function definition? Also, sometimes developer wants to accept all the values that user provides as input, just like I have explained. So let's suppose user 1 entered 3 arguments and user 2 entered 7 arguments. We will see how we can accept these values from both of the users so that they, uh, either of them doesn't get any error on their screen. In such scenarios, so this is important, we can use star args. This is something new in this session that we're discussing. Star args means, star means multiple. If just for learning purposes I'm explaining, star you can keep in mind as multiple, and then args means arguments, and star args is specifically used for positional arguments, not keyword arguments. I'm repeating, star args is only used for positional arguments, not for keyword arguments. This should be kept in mind while working on such concepts. So which helps us to call multiple arguments when we do the function call like this. And then star args is just a notation. So this is just for our like learning purposes, that we can use star args. But you can also define it like star A, star B, or star your name. Like I've written star test, star kashish, etc. So this is just a notation. So instead of args, you can define any variable, like any basically you can say any keyword that you want to give, and please don't use any inbuilt keyword of Python. Note, just like tuples or list, as we know, tuples are iterables and lists are also iterables on which we can run a loop and iterate through each element of that tuple or a list. Similarly, star args is also an iterable through which we can iterate to each value of its, basically the arguments that we are providing. So suppose if I use star args and providing 5 values or 4 values, I can iterate through each value using a loop. It can be for loop or it can be while loop. So let's jump into the code and take some examples, or before that, let me clear the output so that I can explain it better. So it is working. Okay, now it's done. Okay, let's take an example of addition. So we are creating an addition function where we have not defined how many arguments user can provide. So previously, till the last session, if we would have created a similar function like addition, so we must have given like num1, num2, num3. So we will ask user that pass on the value for num1, num2, and num3. But now we are not restricting the user to pass on just limited values. So we are saying star args. So again, this is just a notation. You can use any value. And then under the function definition for addition, what we are writing total is equal to 0. So this is the total that will be returned once this function is completed, is processing. And then we are running, as I told that star args is also iterable on which we can use loops. So I'm writing for I in args. Now don't write star here, otherwise you will get an error. So basically this is the variable name that we have to use. So you have to write for I in args, not star args. Then what we are doing under the for loop, we are iterating through each of the values that will be passed in args, and then we are basically adding the value of arguments into total. So what it will happen, like total is equal to total plus I. So this is the assignment operator that I have used. So what it will do, so the first value suppose for args is 10. So it will take 10 and will add it to the total. So new value of total will be 10. And in the next iteration, suppose args have next value like 3. So again, it will add total, which is 10, plus I, which is 3 now. So the new value of total will be 13. I hope that you remember this concept now, how to make these additions. And then finally, after all the iterations it has completed, it will return the value of total in the output, so that we can store this total somewhere and we can reuse this value. And then we are calling this function by using a print statement and f string, and we are writing the total is this addition function is called, and you can see that we are passing multiple values for it. So star args means we can take multiple positional arguments. So I'm stressing on this word positional arguments because star args cannot take keyword arguments. So I have passed two values, 5 comma 23. So let's understand what how it will be processed using addition function. So the first value of args will be 5 and the second value of args will be 23. So basically all these values are for this star args. And when we iterate through it, in the first iteration it will pick up 5 and will add it to total, and then it will pick up 23 in the next iteration, and the new value for the total will be 28. And finally there is no more value to be processed by addition function, so it will return total value as 28 and it will print it here. Similarly, in the next example we are calling 5 values. This will also not give me an error. It will process all these values one by one and it will give me the total sum as 19. So if you plus this, it comes to 19. So let's run this and see the output. You can see it is processing correctly and it has not given us any error and is processing on all the values which are positional values. And yeah, so it is giving me correct results for both of the function calls. So this is the basic idea behind using star args, that we don't have to define like how many arguments that we have to take from the user. User can give any arbitrary values, like here we have given just 2 and here we are giving 5. Okay, there is something in the chat. Is star args is a keyword? You can say that it's a keyword. Basically it's using a star and any variable name, any basically character makes tells Python that now you want to accept multiple values from the user in a user defined function. And args is just a notation. You can use any keyword like star a. In the next example I will show you how you can do that. But yes, it's, you can say it as a keyword, but it's actually not. So it's just a notation that you have to tell to Python that now you are ready to accept multiple values from the user. Okay, any other questions?
You have written total plus is equal to I. So
Yeah.
plus is a variable name?
No, like if you have attended the previous lecture, so there was a lecture for operators. So this is one kind of assignment operator. So we have like 6 to 7 assignment operators in which we can directly write. So this statement and the below statement is exactly same. So what it will do, it will basically add the total plus I and it will
Okay.
store it to
Understood.
total. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus.
So it basically the
Yeah.
efficient
Understood.
way
Got
to
your point.
write the same statement. All right.
Okay.
So if there is no question, we can proceed. So now we know how to use positional. So in the previous sessions, we discussed how to use positional arguments, keyword arguments, and now we also know how to use star args. Let us understand how we can use mix of these arguments, because in the practical scenarios, it is not possible that you will be just using star args or maybe just positional arguments. It can be, but yes, most of the times we use mix of them. So let's see how we can use positional argument and star args. So here we are creating a function salary in which I'm defining a positional argument now, bonus, comma, star args. So here we have not defined args. Here we have just defined a. So this is where we can see that star args is just a notation and we can use any keyword or any variable name. Now we are defining a variable which is ctc is equal to 0 and we are running a loop on this a. So for the values of a will be these 4. Suppose this is the bonus value and these 3 are the Jan, Feb and March salaries. So what it will do, we are running a loop on this a which takes three values. I will explain how it takes. Then it will iterate through each value and will add sum of ctc for each month, and finally it will return ctc value plus the bonus. Let's understand using the function call how it will be processed. So in the salary function, we have defined that there is one positional argument and rest all comes under star A. Now, when we are doing function call, that is the main thing to understand here, that the first value, whatever value you give here, will be assigned to bonus key argument. Yeah, or you can say bonus variable. So now bonus takes the value of 1000 and rest all the values that are left towards the end. So it can be any value. It will be consumed by star A. So as we know that positional argument goes with the positions of the function definition or the function call. So bonus will take the first value, rest all the values will be stored in star A, which means A will hold these three values and will iterate one by one on these three values. And in the first iteration, the CTC value will be 2000. In the next iteration, 4, and finally it will return us 6000 as the value of CTC. But what we are returning here, CTC plus bonus. So CTC will hold the value of 6000 and bonus holds the value of 1000. And finally, we are storing the CTC in variable CTC when we are calling this function, and we are printing this finally. Let's run and we can see that it is returning me 7000. Now the advantage is, if we add one more value like 3000 in the end, you can see that still bonus will take 1000 and rest all the values will be consumed by this star args. Let's run and you can see that it is giving me the correct results, and this is how it works with the combination of positional and star args arguments. So again, the first value will be taken by the bonus variable and bonus argument, and rest all values that you give after this will be consumed by star A. So this is the mix and match of positional argument and star args. Any questions on this? I'm asking again and again because this is like, this can be tricky for some people. So just wanted to make sure everyone understand this concept.
All fine, Kashish.
Okay, great. Now, what if, so in the previous example, what we define, first of all, we are giving the positional argument and then we are giving star args. So in Python, user-defined functions, there is a precedence for each type of arguments that we also discussed in the last session, that positional arguments should come first and then only we can provide keyword arguments. Similarly here also, for star args, there is a, you can say, precedence that it cannot be used before positional argument. So if there is any positional argument that you have to use, you have to keep it in on the before star args, and only after positional argument star args can be defined, as we are defined in this example. But if we shuffle these, so precedence will be changed. Now it will not work. Let's check the error. You can see that salary missing one required positional, sorry, keyword only argument, which is bonus. So it is assuming that, not it is assuming, Python knows that after star args, only keyword arguments can come as per the precedence. So it is saying that it is assuming it is a keyword argument, but we know that we want to define it as a positional. So you have to keep bonus in the front of star args, like before star args, then only it will work. I hope the concept is clear. And we also like focus on the error that it is assuming that we are trying to pass keyword argument, which is not acceptable. And if you're defining keyword argument, you have to give it like something like this: bonus is equal to 2000. So I will come to this point, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand the concept, that there is a precedence that should be followed while working on user defined functions. Now moving further, this is the example which is based on some shares and shares value. So let's understand how does it work. So there is a case when maybe there is some hypothetical share for which we have set a price of rupees 10. So that was the price at day one. Someone sold his or her shares in 3 consecutive days. Maybe they are holding 90 shares and they are selling it 30 30 30 in 3 consecutive days. And each day, so on day one the price was 10. On the next day, price has increased to 11, like rupees 1 has been increased on each day. So in the next day price has increased to 11, and on the final day price was 12. So this is the basically statement that is there. Now what we have to do, we have to find out how much was the total amount that the person has received after selling the shares for the 3 consecutive days on respective values. So let's program this statement, and how we will get the answer, we should understand that. So there is a function name that we have defined, which is shares value. And then we have defined a positional argument, which is shares price. And then this is star args. And instead, as we know that it's just a notation, so I've written star shares. So this means we will accept multiple values for shares. Then total value is equal to 0. So this is the total value variable which we have defined for the value that the person will get. Now we are running a loop for the star shares, that it will hold multiple values. So for I in shares, total value, or let's first of all take a look at the values for the shares and the share price. So share price is a positional argument, so it will take the first value, which is 10. So as we defined on the first day, it will be 10. And then shares value, number of shares are coming as 3 arguments, as the person sold shares in 3 consecutive days. So on the first day, the number of shares were 5. On the second day, the number of shares were 2, and on the final day, the number of shares was just 1. And now let's try to build the logic to find out the total value that the person must have received. For I in shares, total value, which is right now 0, plus equal to, again, I think someone asked this question how it is working. So for the clarification purposes, I have written this statement. So this statement and the upper statement is exactly same. You can use either of them. So let's focus on the below value. Total value is equal to total value, which is currently 0, plus I, which what is the value of I? The first value of shares. So these values are for shares. So the first value is 5. So 5 multiplies share price. Share price is 10. So 5 into 10 is 50, plus total value. So on the first day, they have received 50 after selling the 5 shares on the share price of 10. Now we have to increment the share price from 10 to 11, because the share price is increasing each day by rupees 1. So I have used share price plus equals to 1. And this is again similar to share price is equal to share price plus 1. So this is the statement that is similar to the upper one. Okay, so now the after first iteration, the share price value is now 11. And again, it will process next statement. So the value on the second day for shares is 2. So it will again process it. So the total value was 50 now, the updated value. It will do 50 plus I, which is 2 now, into share price, which is 11. So 2 multiplied by 11, which is 22, plus 50 is 72. So 72 is the updated value for the total value. But there is one more iteration which will be processed by, so only one share is left to be processed on the last day. So now total value holds the value of 72, plus I, which holds the value of 1, and share price, which has been incremented to 12 now. So 12 multiply 1, so it's 12 plus 72. The total value for the shares after selling it for 3 consecutive days is 84. So we should get the answer as 84, and we are storing the total value, so returning it and storing it by calling this function. And finally, we are printing total shares value is rupees, this total value that we are calling using fstring. Let's run the function and check the answer. So indeed, we are getting rupees 84 as the answer, and we can try to change the values, maybe 10, and we can also increase the value. So it's totally depend on the person. Suppose they are selling 9 shares on the last day. So total shares they had was 19 plus 7 is 26. So 26 shares were sold in 4 consecutive days, and each day the share price increased by rupees 1. So let's check the answer now. So you can see that 309 is the answer by selling these different shares on 4 consecutive days on base price of share of 10, and it increased each day by rupees 1. So now I think you are taking the feeling of actually programming that we are doing on Python, because this is the, you can say, practical scenario where we somehow calculate the share price values. based on the prices given. So this was the hypothetical example, but you can somehow relate how it is processed in the backend if you see any application on your day-to-day life. Okay, again, any question on this example?
It's clear.
Okay. The next example is share price was rupees 10 at day 1. So again, this is the same example, but now the person has also received dividend of rupees 100 on shares when he or she sold shares, last stock of shares. So on the last day, like third day or fourth day, it can be. So they have received a dividend of rupees 100. So let's see how we can program this. So the logic is exactly same, but what we have changed, first of all, we have taken the share price, which is again 10. Then we have also defined the positional argument as dividend as 100. And then we are writing star shares, which takes these three values for the respective shares. And then the same logic is there, but also we are adding the total value plus the dividend that they have received in the on the last day. So the total value will be 84 because the values have not changed, plus dividend, which makes up to 184, is the final answer for me. So you can see the answer is correct. And this is how we can take multiple positional arguments and with the star arcs concept. So shares price will be the first position, which means 10. Dividend will be second position, which means 100. Then everything that is left will be consumed by star shares, which is these three values. Okay. The next question is, let us try to make above dividend argument as keyword argument. So can anyone help me to make this? So currently this dividend is positional. Can anyone tell me how I can make this dividend argument as keyword argument here?
Put a asterisk before the dividend.
Anyone would like to try?
Put an asterisk before dividend.
Sorry, you are not audible.
I'm saying put an asterisk before dividend.
No, because asterisk has to be used with only star arguments where you have to take multiple values, but dividend just hold one value. So the currently it's positional argument, and if you want to take if you want to convert it as keyword argument, then something else needs to be done, not using asterisk. Okay, let's see. So you can see that if I'm writing dividend here as positional and we want to make it as keyword, I can try it in the function call that dividend is equal to 100. Like I'm assuming that it will share price will hold the value as 10 in the first argument, and then dividend I'm making it as keyword as dividend is equal to 100, and rest all the values will be consumed by shares. So it is taking 5 to 1, but it will not work because as we know there is precedence that has to be followed. Now understand that
5 to 1 has to come earlier, right? Then dividend should
yes,
come. Dividend is
perfect,
equal to
perfect,
100.
perfect. And also we have to change the function definition as well. Okay, let's understand that star arcs is also kind of positional arguments. That's why I'm focusing from the very beginning. That's why first of all you have to take the precedence of normal positional arguments, then star arcs, then keyword. This is the precedence that we have defined till now. That again I'm repeating, first of all you have to define positional arguments, then star arcs, then keyword arguments. So as per this precedence, let's see the below example. So I've changed it here. So here this is positional, then star arcs, and then the keyword argument that I have to define. Then accordingly, you have to make it in the function call. Like first value will be consumed by share price, which is positional, and then star arcs will consume other three values. And it knows that we have one more parameter or one more argument that has to like take some value. And after star arcs, always keyword arguments uh, comes into picture. So there is one keyword argument which takes the value of 100 by defining it like this: dividend is equal to 100. But let's try the answer first. Sorry. Okay, so we can see the answer is coming as correct, which is 184. But what if I remove this dividend equals to? Let's see what happens. You can see shares value missing one required keyword argument, which is dividends. So if you are defining it as keyword, you have to give it like dividend equal to. It will not work directly if you just pass on the value. So now it will work. So maybe you can note it down, like first of all you have to define positional argument, then star args, and then keyword. And now let's proceed. In above examples, we have used star args, which is actually collection of values we are passing to the function, and then iterating on each value of it using loops. So what we have done, we have defined multiple values for these star args, and then we are calling it one by one to process using loops. We know that list, tuples, sets, dictionaries are also collections, and we can also process loops on them. So let's now understand how we can use directly lists, tuples, and other things, other collections in the programs. So currently we are defining individual values for star args. Now we will take it as collectively like this. So we have a same function which is computing CTC. I'm not repeating it again. So it takes only star args. And then we are defining a list which holds the values for salaries, Jan, Feb, and month. And then we are calling CTC is equal to function which is salary. And then we are calling this list. So it will take three values just like we are defining it here. And finally, we are printing CTC that will be computed. But now let's understand that it will throw me an error. It is saying that unsupported operand types for int and list. So let's understand what is happening here. So when we are calling this list, it holds three values, right? And when we are passing this list L, you can see L is going to star A, and we are calling A in the loops. So when we are iterating through A, the value it is getting is not individual values like 2000, 2000, and 2000. It is getting the value as complete list. So this is this. You should understand this concept while calling this function salary with this list, and it is going to star A, and we are iterating through value of A, which is actually this list. It is not iterating through each value of the list. Rather, it is iterating through this complete list at once. So it is saying that I holds the value as this complete list, and we are trying to add a integer which is CTC plus this list. This is not possible. You cannot add an integer with a list. You can add integer plus integer or list plus list, but mix and match of integer and list is not possible. So to overcome this issue, what you have to do, you have to use star L instead of L. Okay, again to explain this thoroughly, I've taken one more example to elaborate this example. Like we cannot do plus with integer and list, but we can do multiply. So I've taken one more example to showcase what is happening. You can see that it is taking complete list as the argument, and the what is value of CTC 1. So it is multiplying 1 multiplied by this complete list will be answer will be the same list that is returned. But what if I write 2? So 2 multiplied by this list is, so it is writing this list twice. And if I write 3, it will keep on increasing. So what is happening? We have to pass on individual items so that it can add the CTC accordingly. But it is returning the complete list, which is not as per our use case. So to overcome this issue, we have to unpack individual elements from this list. How? Just by passing this star in when calling this list in the function call. So nothing else needs to be done. Just create this list similarly, and instead of just L, write star L. And now when you run this, you can see that we are getting the correct CTC amount, which is if you add to 2000 plus 2000 plus 2000, indeed we get 6000. Even if we add one more value like 4000, we will get the value as 10,000 now. So this is how we can directly process star args using collections. It can be tuple, it can be list, or it can be set as well. Let's take one more example with tuple and list. So tuple and set. Or let's rejoin because only 2 minutes are left. So let's rejoin and continue. So I think we will complete this session before time. So let's rejoin it quickly and we will proceed.